COVID-19 restrictions, this time for outdoor events.
We're super excited to hear that the government is lifting restrictions just in time for the holidays.
The Distillery District's very popular Christmas market is back this year. Parades and festivals will also be allowed to go ahead without capacity limits. Plus,
I feel very upset for these families because I don't see how this system is going to change.
the Ontario government introducing new legislation today to fix the province's long-term care system, including harsher fines. But some say it doesn't go far enough. And
why did they have to shoot my nephew?
a family and a community asking why tonight after 27-year-old Jamal James becomes the city's latest murder victim, killed in an overnight shooting initially believed to be a car crash. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. The province is lifting more COVID-19 restrictions, announcing today capacity limits will be lifted for most outdoor events. Now this comes as we look ahead to the festive season. Dahlia Ashry joins us live now at the Distillery District. And Dahlia, a bit windy and a bit quiet there right now, but it will be a much busier scene come November and December.
That's right, Kelda. It is a windy night, and it's quite quiet right now, which is not usually the case here at the Distillery District come a few weeks where the Christmas market takes place. And it was canceled last year, but it is going to be coming back, and so it's going to be a much busier scene with a new name, the Distillery Winter Village. And organizers tell me they're excited to have it back and excited to welcome people here again for a much busier scene, especially now that capacity limits are lifted. But they do say that it will still be an intimate event and compared to pre-COVID. Here in the Distillery District is where people come to feel the holiday spirits, from the bright, beautiful lights to the familiar Christmas tunes.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
And in a matter of weeks, it's expected to make a comeback.
The Christmas market was more of an event that was focused around a festival, Christmas feel and a fair, whereas the Distillery Winter Village is a lot more intimate, so we won't have a stage, we won't have photo ops with Santa.
Ontario's top medical doctor announcing this afternoon the province will be lifting capacity limits for outdoor organized public events.
Given that they're outdoors and our rates across Ontario are steadily decreasing, we certainly hope that at a regional level they'll make decisions to enable the parades to go forward.
The changes coming too late, however, for Toronto's Santa Claus parade. Organizers already announced the event will be virtual. But Remembrance Day ceremonies will be able to go ahead in 2 weeks. However, outdoor social gatherings are still being limited to 100 people, and safety precautions are still being advised, especially in cases where 2-meter distancing may not be possible.
We do think that the masking for these environments is appropriate, that we can do distancing as best we can.
Distillery organizers say they are taking measures to avoid overcrowding and keeping everyone safe.
We are reducing capacity on our site, as well as asking for people who are visiting to have their vaccine passports ready to ensure that we can allow for a really safe shopping and dining experience.
The province is also lifting capacity limits for all live concerts, a huge relief for the industry.
For those of us still left standing and who really recognize how decimated this industry has been, I think it's a real reckoning. We made it. We hope that the lifting of these capacities will remain. So we need to continue to encourage everyone to do their part, get vaccinated, adhere to any restrictions and measures that remain in place so that we can actually do what I think we're able to do now.
Now, as you heard from organizers, while they are excited to have everyone back here by November 18th for the Distillery Winter Village, safety is still top priority, so they are asking people to continue wearing your masks and show proof of vaccination. And you can always come out here and enjoy the 50-feet Christmas tree that will be erect by Monday. Kelda?
Thanks so much, Dahlia. That's our Dahlia Ashry live for us tonight. Long-term care homes were devastated during the pandemic. Nearly 4,000 residents died in those facilities across the province. Tonight, they're facing new legislation from the Ontario government. That includes the doubling of fines for homes that break the rules. But as our Lorenda Redicop reports, some think the changes don't go far enough.
I rise today to introduce the Providing More Care, Protecting Seniors and Building More Beds Act 2021.
It's also called the Fixing Long-Term Care Act, which is what the government aims to do.
We have as now the highest fines, the ability to have someone not work ever again in long-term care if they're found guilty under provincial offences, even jail time. These are important things that I think will make sure the system operates well.
Potential fines will double, $200,000 on first offense for individuals, $500,000 for corporations, then $1 million on second offense. The government can suspend a home's license and temporarily take over, and anyone convicted of breaking the rules would be banned from working in the sector. One family advocate wants real accountability, including for homes that had problems before.
I don't want to see things like having supervisors appointed when a bad home messes up for the 1,000th time. This is akin to benching the bad player.
This comes after the military went into some of the worst hit homes during Wave 1 and reported on horrific conditions, including abuse, neglect, and residents sitting for days in soiled diapers. The government promised to act.
It was the worst report, most heart-wrenching report I have ever read in my entire life, ever. We're gonna fix this.
Almost a year later, another report by the Independent Long-Term Care Commission, slamming decades of underfunding and also the province's slow response to the pandemic. For-profit homes suffered the worst outbreaks. The opposition wanted larger changes, demanding a move to non-profit.
Why is the Minister of Long-Term Care handing over more lucrative contracts to the worst players in private, for-profit long-term care?
The government says it's an ideological difference. It's building new homes, including private ones, and adding more beds. Geriatrician Dr. Samir Sinha wanted to see changes to ensure a better workplace and increased pay.
I'm just worried that if you're just putting in more legislation, bigger fines, more inspectors, it becomes more of a police state as opposed to a place where people are encouraged and supported to provide excellent care.
Today, the government did announce increased pay for personal support workers, but it's temporary. The wage top-up extended until March 31st. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
Disgraced former fashion mogul Peter Nygaard is now in Toronto to face multiple charges of sexual assault. Winnipeg police confirmed they assisted in executing a warrant for the 80-year-old's arrest, and he was transported to Toronto today. Toronto police issued the arrest warrant earlier this month, stating Nygaard was being charged with 6 counts of sexual assault and 3 counts of forcible confinement for incidents that allegedly happened between 1987 and 2006. This comes more than 10 months after he was charged with sex trafficking and other offenses in the U.S. Nygaard has been in custody in Winnipeg since he was arrested in December 2020. He denies being involved in criminal activity and has already agreed to move forward with the extradition process. What initially was believed to be a car crash has turned into a murder investigation. 27-year-old Jamal James was found fatally shot in a vehicle at a townhouse complex in Scarborough. Tonight, police are continuing to investigate as the victim's family and community try to understand why he was targeted. Greg Ross reports.
Why did they have to shoot my nephew?
Clement Stevens was looking for answers today after his 27-year-old nephew, Jamal James, was shot and killed not far from his home.
He didn't deserve this.
Police are not providing many details, but we've learned that moments after the shooting, James crashed his Nissan Infiniti into the steps of this home.
Yeah, I can feel the house shake.
This woman, who lives in the unit directly behind the stairs, ran outside after hearing the crash and was the first to find James.
Yeah, I went in and turned off the car, and I took his pulse, and there was none. I called 911 and said there's an accident in front of my house.
Officers arrived on scene and located a male in his vehicle.
Police say at first emergency crews did not realize James had been shot.
It was an unknown incident, and we believed initially it was a collision. And through life-saving efforts upon our arrival, it was determined that he had suffered from gunshot wounds.
And after when all the police came and all the lights came, then you can see the bullet holes.
She says she counted at least 9 bullet holes, and she says it appeared the back window had also been shot out. People who live in this neighborhood and knew James say it doesn't add up.
But everybody's saying, how come? Like, why him? Because he wasn't somebody that you would think would get that somebody be after.
Family and friends say James had graduated from a business administration program and had just recently gone into business for himself.
Yeah, she just opened a little tattoo place downtown.
Police tell us they've been able to retrieve other video from the scene, but at this point, they're not telling us if they have a motive for the shooting or any details about possible suspects. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, it was nice to see a little bit of sunshine this afternoon. Those winds were pretty gusty, though.
Yeah, those winds are starting to pick up, and they're going to be even stronger as we go through the day on Friday, as we have a rather intense system. Another one that's pushing our way. So I'm going to talk about that in a little more detail. Do have to take a look at the numbers from today because, you know, for the GTA, well, much of central southern Ontario yesterday was really the beauty day. Well, it was southwestern Ontario's turn today. Finally got some of those clouds out of there, at least earlier on, and popped up to 16.5 degrees there. And the temperatures, obviously, with a lot of that cloud deck, a little bit lower elsewhere. So there's that very strong storm we talked about yesterday. That's moving away from Atlantic Canada, albeit a little slowly. This is the next one we're turning our attention to. We'll start to see those bands of rain rotating towards the Niagara region earlier tomorrow, and after lunch, as we get into the afternoon, beginning to push towards the GTA. So I'm going to break this down and also talk about how long it's going to last as we are going into the weekend. That's all coming up. Your numbers for tonight, very little change, nearly steady around 9 and just to 11 with those strong winds tomorrow, Kelda.
Thanks so much, Colette. The Ontario government is expanding access to COVID-19 testing to all schools in the province. Education Minister Stephen Lecce announced today take-home test kits will be made available at public schools across the province next month. As Ali Chiasson reports, it's an effort to minimize the number of school closures for the rest of the year.
The province is expanding COVID testing at schools.
Today we're announcing that we're providing take-home PCR tests to all schools for all grades for both symptomatic students and close contact asymptomatic cases for students and staff.
The take-home kits were only available at hotspot areas, but now it's being expanded to all schools in the province.
We are also launching a test-to-stay program using rapid antigen tests to prevent classrooms or entire school dismissals altogether.
Here's how the test-to-stay thing works. Staff and students at schools or individual classrooms with confirmed COVID cases will be given testing kits. As a way to monitor exposure, they'll have enough tests to check for COVID every other day for 10 days. As long as they test negative, they can keep going to class. Those who have tested positive for COVID will stay at home and isolate, as usual. It's a way to avoid having to shut down entire schools or classrooms for just a few cases.
I was livid.
Nicole Kreutzberg's son is in grade 11 at Silverthorne Collegiate, the first high school to be shut down this school year because of a COVID outbreak.
He also hates online learning. He hates it.
She doesn't necessarily trust that everyone will abide by the voluntary take-home tests. For context, her area of Etobicoke has a lower vaccination rate.
It's not going to happen. Some parents are going to be like, you know what? It's not real. And they're just going to throw it in the garbage.
The province isn't changing its mind on asymptomatic surveillance testing, something parent groups have been trying to do on their own.
Get us the rapid antigen tests. Parents are willing to test their kids. I mean, our program is up to 150 families that are testing their kids twice a week. And it's making a huge difference.
What would make the biggest difference, some parents still say? Making the COVID-19 vaccine mandatory for children, which Chief Medical Officer of Health Dr. Kieran Moore is not budging on yet.
Is not going to be integrated into the ISPA at present. We have to look at the trends and the ongoing threat of this virus. If it persists season after season and is an ongoing threat, at that point we would review.
So in the meantime, school boards and public health will handle cases as they come up, with rapid tests being more accessible as of next month. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
A COVID-19 outbreak in a men's over 50 hockey league in Newmarket has claimed the life of a beloved teammate and family man. It's believed 75-year-old Gary Weston and 14 other players in the league caught the virus at the end of last month. And since all of them were fully vaccinated, they're speaking out tonight to make sure others understand that COVID is still a very real threat. Chris Glover has the story.
The smile on his face just lit up a room, and you just knew he was so proud of the family that he and my mom built, and we're proud to carry on. It's going to be hard without him, but.
Gary Weston's daughter, Amber Lee, says her 75-year-old father died of COVID last Thursday.
He just had a good heart and a good soul, and you knew it the minute you met him. You just knew it. We've been getting hundreds and literally hundreds of calls and texts and messages.
Even the housekeeper of his intensive care unit got a message to his family after their brief exchange the day he had to be intubated.
She said he was just making me laugh and telling me what a great job I was doing. And he said, you know, housekeepers, they don't get thanked enough. And so even we think even with his very last words out of his mouth ever, he's being kind to somebody.
Weston played hockey with his best friend Brian Dunn for more than 5 decades.
Oh, he was a wonderful man. He brought people together. He was a friendly chap. He was a great family man. People loved him. He was a real sort of icon in the Newmarket area.
Around Thursday, September 30th at Newmarket's National Training Rinks Arena, the pair and 13 other players of their over 50 men's league caught COVID.
That was the first game he'd played in 18 months. So he was very excited. We all were to get back. And yeah. So, you know, because they're trying to figure out how this all sort of happened.
Everybody involved in the outbreak was double vaxxed and required to prove it at the door. The over 50 league was suspended while the players quarantined.
So this was isolated to one group. We haven't had any calls about any other cases.
The rink's GM insists all COVID protocols were followed. Still, the outbreak involved players from separate nights in different change rooms.
One of the players may have been asymptomatic when they were playing, and that just also raises the issue too that because the immunization is not 100% effective, and there is always, you know, the possibility of transmission, that if you're symptomatic, you should get, you know, don't participate in things like this. Stay home and get tested.
The rest of the fully vaccinated hockey players recovered well. So too did several of Weston's vaccinated family members who caught the virus after. Still, his daughter has a message tonight.
I know some people think, well, if he was vaccinated, it didn't work, then what's the point? But really, it's about mitigating the risks. You know, just because you're wearing a seatbelt doesn't mean you're not going to die in a car accident. We still highly, highly believe in the efficacy and people getting vaccinated.
The family is delaying his memorial service to June so Weston's vast team of loved ones can celebrate him properly in person. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
You're looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, mostly cloudy tonight with more cloud cover moving in the overnight hours and quite chilly. Currently 10 degrees, but feeling more like 6. Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your extended forecast. And Colette, we'll need to get out our umbrellas for the next couple of days.
Yeah, we're going to need some gear here as we are looking at a strong system that's moving in. It's really going to have an impact on the beginning of the weekend, and then as we get towards Halloween, or at least those trick-or-treat hours, yeah, we should be seeing some improvement. So the blustery east winds, the wet weather with some heavier rain for the GTA, that's especially Friday night into Saturday and Saturday early. And the trick-or-treating forecast does look like we'll be drying out and improving somewhat with our temperatures too. So the timeline as we go through the overnight hours, just seeing some of that increasing cloudiness. We start off dry tomorrow along the north shores of Lake Ontario. Not the case for southwestern Ontario tonight. Through the overnight, the rain pushing in. Heavier band here across Lake Erie. That will begin rotating up and will add to it. So as we get into the latter part of the morning, early afternoon, some heavier rains begin to push in, moving towards Hamilton. And then as we get through the afternoon, we may see some light bands come through first through Toronto, and then we'll see more consistent stuff. And as I say, some of the heaviest Friday night into Saturday morning. And then we still have to deal with the rotation and some of this backsliding with these bands coming off of this system, even though it'll be moving away. So that instability means still some scattered showers Saturday night, early Sunday. And then, even though a lot of the clouds will probably linger, we will see drier conditions for trick-or-treat hours. Temperatures overnight tonight, keep in mind that easterly breeze, it gets stronger and gustier tomorrow. 14, a little little departure of Windsor for tomorrow. And looking at your overnight readings here, we will see slightly cooler there with somewhat clearer skies towards Oshawa around 6. Elsewhere, we've got the milder numbers, but they don't change a lot, as you see. Not bad tomorrow morning for that commute through Toronto, but not necessarily the case as we get towards the afternoon commute. Saturday, the rain, and there you go. Not only should we be drying out, maybe some sunny breaks Sunday, but warming up a little bit just for that day.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Colette. Finally tonight, feel like you need to let off some steam? Here's an idea for you, courtesy of students at the University of PEI. They found a way to get rid of some stress and raise awareness about mental health issues using baseball bats and pumpkins. Take a look.
So it's an event where people can come out and smash pumpkins in hopes of letting out their emotions and just adding to the conversation about mental health. The idea of the event is people write something stigmatizing about mental health that they're struggling with or something personal that they're struggling with, and they get to smash the pumpkin and then get the emotional benefits of the release. We had 50 pumpkins donated from Mackenzie Produce, which was amazing. A lot of people were writing specific classes or specific workloads that they were struggling with, or things like it's okay to not be okay, and mental health sayings that are really important to get out there into the community. It was really good to kind of get the benefits of my own event, and it was really fun. It's not something that you get to do every day, so to put yourself in a situation where you can just let loose and have fun, it was a great time.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. And we will leave you with this very windy scene along the Burlington waterfront today. You can see the waves crashing ashore. Some brave souls got close enough to take a good look, but not without getting wet. That's got to be cold. Have a great night, everyone.